Hello and welcome to Hell, an ongoing series where we basically take my sanity anywhere we want. Anyway, hi, I'm Boogs, and I love Captain Toad. It's one of my all-time favorite games, and it is up there with Lara Croft Go and Portal 2 as my favorite puzzle games ever. And today, I wanted to make a video about it. I want to make a challenge video about it. After trying to route coinless, giving up, and ended up giving my progress as help to skip the tutorial, after which I was really excited to see someone finalize the idea, I wanted to do something as well. And after not much thought, I decided my idea was this. How few plucks do you need to beat Captain Toad, if any? Let's start by defining a pluck. There's no such thing as half a pluck. The reason the run isn't just called minimum 8 presses like the ABC or A button challenge famously popularized by Pan and Koek 2012 and the rest of the Mario 64 toolless speedrun community is because the A button doesn't have a single gameplay purpose in Captain Toad. And because the A button is actually not required at all in the game, but not in an interesting tricky way. What I mean by that is that the B and Y button have the exact same abilities as A at every point in the game. The Y actually has another purpose, but that's not relevant. So the idea isn't how to not press A, it's instead avoiding the A button's main function, plucking various things out of the ground, or being in a situation where that is possible. That last part is just my technical justification to add another rule to the challenge: no sprinting. I will not be allowed to hold any action button to sprint, which will be the general name for the B, Y, and A buttons during the run from now. And while removing the sprinting isn't actually a fatal challenge, I've heard of people who play the whole game without knowing they can sprint, not plucking is huge. The whole game is based on that. While Mario has other methods of gaining height other than jump, you can't telepathically pluck objects in Captain Toad. So I went over the various levels of the game, I found a ton of interesting tricks and found myself facing a lot of unique issues, but before we can start getting into the actual levels, let's begin the video proper by explaining the routing of the game. For no clear reason, the developers decided to lock various levels behind the gem quota. I can't imagine why this would be included. It pretty much only holds speedruns, as nearly every regular player will miss a maximum of 2 or 3 gems before hitting one of those locked levels, and by then they usually still have well over the quota. Good design or not, this is in the game and we need to plan ahead. While well over 85% of the levels can be beat with 0 gems and 0 plucks, I'm not gonna give you specifics yet, we'll go over everything, don't worry. We still need to get gems to beat the game, 155 for the final lock, so that means the more gems we can grab without raising the pluck count, the better we are for the future. Well, let's shatter that dream before anyone gets too attached. We are 9 gems short of beating the entire game without any of these sacrifices to our pluckless spree. So now, let us walk through the levels themselves and see what kind of perspectives happen to change when playing the game, trying to avoid the A button or just plucking in order of appearance in the game. And right in the first level, Plucky Past Beginnings, we are met with 2 mandatory plucks of pool switches. Fair enough, they need to introduce the core mechanic of the game, and thankfully using the pointer functions we can blow up the power block on the right and beat the level with 3 gems at no additional cost. 2 plucks already, we head into Wall-Eye Tumble Temple. This level introduces one of the most aggravating parts of the run, pluck gems. During my initial 70 hours of Captain Toad before this video, of course they weren't really an issue, but now that I try to avoid plucking things, I have to stop and wonder just who decided the gems can occasionally be farmed underground. And yeah, when you think about it, that is how gems are formed underground, but I don't recall any of them having sprouts. Especially sprouts so troublesome that getting any gem buried underground will cost us 3 precious pluck inputs, as holding the button won't eventually pull it out. This is a recurring issue, and thankfully along the game we are met with many alternatives to wasting 3 plucks on a single gem. Other items are also found under the surface of pluck patches, such as keys and a super pickaxe, both of those also demanding 3 precious pulls, so we have to avoid those options as well. So, for the sake of avoiding repetition, I'm just going to list off every level where we skip a gem because it's in a pluck patch or tied to a key or plucking a super pickaxe. These are the following levels: Wall-Eye Tumble Temple, Touchstone Trouble, Shy Guy Heights, The King of Pyropuff Peak, Piranha Creeper Cove, Bizarre Doors of Boo Mansion, Stumper's Sneak Around, Sliding Slab Shuffle, Dragodon's Revenge, Midnight in the Wandering Woods, Bullet Bill's Touchy Trials, Spin Wheel Sky Fort, Seesaw Sizzle, Beat Block Sky Plaza, Bitty Bud Snow Stroll, Flip Panel Footpath, Retro Ramp Up, Deep Space Gyromajig, Scaffolding Sinkhole, I hate that name. Levels that have multiple of these instances are Multivator Mayhem, where besides one pluck gem, there is a gem behind the wall that you need a pickaxe for, and I surely don't want my pluck count multiplied by 4, so both are skipped. In Shy Guy Shadow Den, a pluckable key is blocking a pluckable gem. And in No Sleep in Cam Keep, you not only have both a pluckable key and a pluckable gem, you need to throw that key once and pick it up, meaning it's a total of 7 plucks we avoid overall that level. Got all that? Good. Now for more actual level descriptions. While the Double Cherry Palace is a total mess for the coinless challenge, this level isn't so bad for us. Initially it looked a bit daunting due to a new concept introduced in this level aside from mitosis, moles. Moles are friendly enemies running underground in various levels, which I initially assumed I had to pluck to get the rewards, which is either a super pickaxe or a super gem, but soon enough I had a revelation. It's possible to use the 2-player co-op mode to shoot turnips at these moles, which saves us the effort of plucking them ourselves. And well, you might say 2-player turnip cannons make the run cheated or invalidated, but I don't care. Again, because this is a self-imposed challenge, not a worldwide rule set. Hey, if you want to do the pluckless challenge run with 1 player, sure, have a blast, lose my number. The next bunch of levels go without a hitch, aside from the ones listed earlier, where we skip a single gem, up until level 12, and here is where chapter 1 gets slimy. Briny Bowl Swimming Hole. Talk about a mouthful. The exit of this level is guarded by a vicious pool switch, which would make this level turn our total pluck number to 3 if I weren't forced to route in extra gem for the level entrances. For the majority of the run, this might seem like an unworthy sacrifice, but believe me, it's all necessary, as arbitrary as it may seem. So, with that, we avoid the pluck gem and instead head into the middle, where a second pool switch is all that stands between you and a second gem. This level holds another main roadblock called the titular line Turnip Cannon. While shooting within the cannon does not count in my opinion towards the counter, entering the cannon is totally a pluck judging by this animation. It's very much implied to be the discussed action, so that's a required pluck as I can break the block without it. If anyone finds a way to somehow reach the other side of this block without needing to break it, please link a replay to me on Twitter, my Discord, or whatever the kids use to talk nowadays. I would absolutely make a video updating on the news and link it in the corner card right now if I have something to update. And whenever a new update arises, the last video would link to the new one. That's a good idea. In Pop-Up Prairie Town, we have 4 required pool switches. Absolutely disgusting. I love this level. Can't get much better than the wow, fuck to mess. I should stop quoting that video. Okay. Yeah, there's not much more to say about this one except the fact that we also sacrifice 1 A-press additionally in order to get a single extra gem. It's notable that this gem in the middle is seemingly tricky to get without sprinting, but I eventually just fell on top of this fence and got it from the end of the level. 10 gems total, we go to level 14, Drop Row Dash. This simple-ish level requires a single turnip to be thrown in a jump to collect it, and it is a required single pluck sacrifice, which gets up the counter to 11. And finally, Wingo's Watchtower. Here's where shit hits an undeniable fan. Besides the 3 pool switches we need, which would have been 2 if it wasn't for a gem we need earlier for only 1 pluck, there's not much required of us in the tower instead to get 3 gems. However, this game is tragically well designed, and the bosses use an expanded version of a main mechanic, which is nothing short of just embarrassing, really. Wingo's fight is based on plucking giant turnips that you need to pull on 5 times before they come out, and if they break, we need to add even more to the count. So if you're doing a proper speedrun thing of this and not just a proof of concept like I do, you better make every button count. After 3 successful hits on the Big Bird, 18 presses already added to the counter, we now have, oh come on, 5 more plucks on Toadette, and we finished the first chapter with 23 more plucks than we had so far, bringing us to a total of 34 plucks. Alright, so let's round up chapter 1. By now the video is like, what, 7-8 minutes, that's kind of long. We have 46 gems total out of 54 commercially available in this first chapter, 34 plucks and a partridge on a P-switch. While tragically more than 0, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't expect many more plucks, and the Wingo fight is really a majority of them. Without further blabber, let's begin the second part of our poorly gardened adventure in Toadette's Chapter 2. Alright, Shoot Scoot Slopes. I didn't mention this earlier because of pacing, but there are a few things I just need to mention that are not considered plucks that were in the last chapter. First ones are spin wheels, and while you may think they involve pluck animation, they don't, and the pluck button is not required in any capacity to turn them. I initially thought this would require handheld mode, but nope, it's simply ZR in TV mode. In Stomper Sneak Around we have another mole jam using a 2-player and a skipped plucked key, but the reason I bring this level up is just to mention the obvious: walkable P switches are not plucks, as opposed to pull switches. P switches, pull switches, great terminology, I know. And finally, minecarts, like in Minecart Sunset Rundown, do not count into the run as plucks, as you have no action button press or pluck animation when you enter, rather you just dropped in. So that means all 3 cart levels in the main game, including the last chapter, are 1-8, 2-3, and 3-9. After establishing these small rules, let's go back to bigger issues like global warming, capitalism, and turnip artillery. Drift Along Canyon features many unexpected obstacles. In fact, if we didn't need gems, it would be the only level with required plucks in Chapter 2. I didn't expect that when routing because I just forgot this level had 2 required pull switches. Yeah, I don't know why it was necessary to make these platforms strictly work with pull switch, but the level is like that, they do, and it stinks. In fact, both non-free gems in this level are only at the cost of 1 pluck, so that means this entire level costs us 4 plucks total. 1 for this thrown turnip, 1 for the additional pluck of the switch on our way to the mole, which again we clearly need 2-player, and the 2 required pull switches on our way to the end. So, funny story about Up and Down Terrace. Before I realized I was short on gems later on and had to get the 3rd gem at the cost of a pluck anyway, I thought maybe since you throw piranha sprouts on the gem to get it, maybe if I snipe a sprout from the ground in 2 players so it hits the gem before disappearing, it can collect it on stream, but that was all wrong and I just got normally. We are up to 39 gems and yeah, for a simple level. But now it's double cherry spires and this level stinks. This insultingly pretty level has 2 big issues, and first is that there's gems behind plucks, keys, and thrown turnips, and the second is that I'm a total idiot. And thus I decided to take my challenge way too literally when possible, and decided that if there's more than 1 toad on screen and I pluck, every pluck performed counts. That means I only throw this turnip if the other toad can't pluck, and since I need this turnip for a gem quota later, I need to time this turnip throw for when the toad is in the air. This is completely ridiculous, and if you plan to do a real run, just ignore this rule. I thought it was a fun condition, I don't know. To close off Chapter 2, we only need a single pluck in this level, and it's not totally required, but needed to get the final gem. See, with 2-player mode, I save about 3 plucks total, but getting rid of the 2 Magic Koopas and killing the 2 conceptually hidden hammer blows that prevent the bridge from topping over, by simply using a 2-player mode and sniping them from the ladder. However, to get to the 3rd gem, I have to use the turnip cannon, which gets us to a total of 41 plucks to put an end to Chapter 2. Can you find all the 18 times I made the sound 2 while discussing this level? And now for a Chapter 2 roundup. We have collected 46 out of the 54 gems in this chapter as well. Wait, how much was last chapter? Yeah, it was 46 as well, cool. And hey, we only added 7 bucks to the counter, and it doesn't get much worse aside from let's get to our point, Chapter 3 time, and we start off with one of the more interesting tricks I found while trying to get footage, not routing, in Big Block Sky Plaza. Now, this level hosts a unique scenario as alright, so in my coinless routing, I didn't want to count gems that were around coins, then I was able to die, reset my coin counter, and still have the gem as long as I didn't get it game over, as I think that would just take a bit out of the essence of the run. And the same logic does apply to this run. I don't think if you performed extra plucks for a gem and then died, that means you never plucked. That's pretty obvious, but this level has a very interesting unique scenario. We can die for no extra cost in order to save us a gem. This gem is, well, just hidden inside the disappearing block in the middle, so we can just drop into it, and when we respawn good as new, the gem is technically ours. I consider this a totally valid gem option. Sue me baby, I'm the judge. In Pickaxe Cave Plummet, this level was a total mess to properly decide how to route. I initially theorized sniping the mole for the first axe and chain that all the way to the bottom of the level, but it runs out at the middle every single time, and then from then on there are no additional moles. So if I want a pickaxe for the final gem, that's 3 blocks added in. And there's still a good bit of thinking needed to grab the middle down when chaining a plucks without sprinting. That, and we need a single pluck anyway for the first gem that requires a pull switch from us, which is just uncalled for. It's simply uncalled for, leading us to a total of 42 gems after this level. There's nothing major to detail about KG Conqueror Caper besides the fact that there is a required action button pressed to pull this lever. I tried, but the size of the lever are in full effect even if they're not visible. You can't cheese the border. As far as I know, you have to pull the lever. In Up and Down Desert, we are back to the Sparty boys from Up and Down Terrace, and we're met with a similar scenario where in order to get a gem quota pretty soon after this level, we need to throw one leggy boy onto a gem, which means we only really have 2 more notable levels to talk about. Rock Block Badlands, Cock Blocks, like and subscribe. The Turnip Cannon entrance is the only required pluck here, but I want to recommend players that want to do this run to use the 2-player mode to clear out the Goombas before they actually start shooting. As I stated before, if a pluck preceded and or allowed for obtaining a gem, like this instance where I can get to the top left gem before shooting some blocks, then dying and counting the gem to cheese action button is not an option. Thus, I recommend getting rid of the Goombas in the area before trying to come back after dropping down on this gem. It is very infuriating to try to do the whole shooting in the corners and the bullet bill leading at the end again and again. And finally, Wingo's Revenge. And to close off the entire low plaque route of Captain Toad, standing strongly at 45 plucks and 155 or more super gems, we face off against Wingo. And while this time their tower itself, while annoying to clear without sprinting, is completely free to beat without a single pluck when played well. But sadly, the same song and or dance is with the final boss, and we are forced to add 20 shameful plucks to the run, 15 on turnips, 5 on toadette, and that's it. 65 presses for a game that's supposedly based on the mechanic is nothing short of a miracle in my opinion. Hey, if it weren't for the boss fights, it'll only be 25, that's downright nuts, and if we only want to count levels, only 14 of the 64 levels had plucks, that's astounding. I'm very okay with this run, no buts about it, and if you're curious, yes, I did check the new Odyssey stages as well, although I didn't check the rest of the bonus episode yet, so hey, if this video gets somewhere, I'll do that in a follow-up video where I calculate all the bonus levels. Sand Kingdom requires 1 pull switch to be completed no matter what, requires 1 more for a turnip you throw the gem, and the 2 others are free. Metro Kingdom has 1 required pull switch, and aside from that the entire level is free for our liking, and Cascade and Luncheon Kingdom's levels are both gimmicks that don't require plucking or holding sprint at all, having a minecart and a dash panel theme respectively. So yeah, only 2 more plucks total from those. Neat! I'd make a proper outro, but this script is already like, what, 3,400 words long, and I really just want this video to ever come out, so I'm just gonna go for now. Thank you all so much. Subscribe for something for more videos. Yeah, I do video essays or just, you know, these talking videos on the internet, yeah. And when I can't do a new one, I bring a quality essay for my previous channel, so you'll always find something nice. Maybe. Who cares? Thanks for watching. Goodbye.